Spencer Kuvin joins us now. He's an attorney representing multiple Epstein survivors. Spencer, I'm glad you're with us. Thank you for your time. You heard my conversation with Scott MacFarlane. Give me your sense of things as they stand.
Yeah, this is absurd. I mean, it's just patently absurd. The Department of Justice doesn't care about victims one bit. I can tell you that I was in contact via email just this morning with the Department of Justice complaining because two of my clients were clearly identified in these documents. Their names were not redacted whatsoever. And this is not rocket science, right? It was a very simple task of just taking the names of the victims they were aware of, putting them into a search mode in an Adobe Acrobat platform, finding the victims' names and redacting them. And they didn't even do that. I was able to find them immediately in a matter of minutes, and they could have easily just taken the lists they had and redacted. This is absurd.
Brad Edwards, who is also a lawyer representing many Epstein survivors, is part of this legal filing that Scott and I were just discussing in New York. He wrote today about this: there is no conceivable degree of institutional incompetence sufficient to explain the scale, consistency, and persistence of the failures that occurred, particularly when the sole task ordered by the court and repeatedly emphasized by the Justice Department was simple: redact known victims' names before publication. Do you associate yourself with those comments?
I do. I do. Brad is a good friend. We were in the trenches together prosecuting these cases back in the early, or late 2000s, 2007, 2008. And I can tell you, for example, here's an example. The first client I represented was victim number one. She was the first girl to go forward to police in Palm Beach and start this investigation. And then subsequently, she was part of the FBI investigation that turned this entire case into what it is now. Her name was not redacted in multiple documents. It is patently absurd that the US government is coming forward now saying that they're doing all they can. It just makes no sense. All they were doing was trying to make sure that these very powerful people were redacted from the files, and they did not care about the victims at all.
And Spencer, as I understand it, there are still pieces of information you believe are in the files that are relevant to the investigations or conversations about potential prosecution that are still under wraps.
Absolutely. I walked through Jeffrey Epstein's home during the prosecution of these cases and saw firsthand the cameras that he had mounted in his home here in Palm Beach, Florida. They have not turned over that surveillance footage they have. They also have not turned over the photographs that were in Jeffrey Epstein's safe at the time they executed the search warrant at his Manhattan home. Where are those pictures? Because those were the pictures that Epstein apparently wanted safeguarded and protected from anyone seeing until he wanted people to see them. That's what the victims want publicized.
Spencer, on behalf of your clients, do you want this website taken down until it is fixed?
Absolutely. I mean, it's unfortunate because my clients, along with many others, want this information for the world to see who is involved, but they also want to be protected. Some of these young girls do not wish to be identified, never have wished to be identified. So unfortunately, I don't know that they can unring this bell. Many news services like yourself and others around the world have already downloaded documents that could potentially damage these young girls yet again. This is just another failure by this government with respect to these poor young girls.
Scott made reference to some harassment that some survivors and victims whose names appeared have suffered. Has that been visited upon any of your clients specifically, Spencer?
Thankfully, not yet. Thankfully, they have not seen any danger as of yet. But for a certain portion of this population that apparently follows our president, regardless of what information might be out in the public, they have some very serious concerns. So they would like this information down immediately, merely run the list of victims' names through this system and redact them. It could literally take the government seconds to do what I did in 1 minute.
Spencer, I don't know if you heard the open to this show, but I said it appears the British are taking this much more seriously than we are. How do you evaluate that?
They are. They are. I was just on a call not too long ago with British media, and discussing with them the connections between Andrew and Lord Mountbatten and the photographs that were disclosed. For example, the photograph of Andrew on all fours on top of a young girl whose face was blacked out. This is being taken much more seriously overseas, and people are losing their jobs, as they should, as a result of the connections to Jeffrey Epstein, long after it was known, by the way, that he was a sexual predator because he was convicted. These people still continue to socialize with him. And the UK government and people over there overseas are taking this very seriously. And unfortunately, our government is not.
What's next, Spencer, and what would you need to see to have an indication from this Justice Department that it's more serious than your evaluation it's been thus far?
They absolutely need to present a third party, neutral person that can evaluate these materials independently, appoint a federal magistrate, appoint a federal judge, appoint a neutral third party that can go through this information and protect these young girls' identities. In addition to that, they need to put some type of penalty in the Epstein Transparency Act that provides for a private cause of action. There needs to be accountability because the Department of Justice just is flaunting this law and breaking it without any accountability. So provide for a private cause of action in the Transparency Act so that these victims can sue if the Department of Justice fails again in their job.
Spencer Kuvin, I appreciate the time, sir, very much. Thank you.